Alright, it's Friday, April 12th, 2024. We're on our... Tomorrow we're supposed to have this running. I think this is part 6, day 6 of our little adventure to get this thing done after 8 weeks of working on it to convert it over to a V8. So here's the update. We got the exhaust system in. We put in 14 hours yesterday on this car. We were out here till 11 o'clock, and then it got to be like 45 degrees, so real dewy and wet out. So we finally went in and stopped. But what we got done, got the exhaust, most of it done, like 80%. I'm just going to show the exhaust best as I can. It's only tacked up, it's not even done yet. Turns out the clamps we got, the muffler clamps were wrong, so for now I just stuck that clamp on there. But anyway, and yeah, like I had said in one of those videos, I didn't like the way we were expected to run the exhaust because it was going to get crunched under there. So this is how I did it. I just ran the damn thing down the frame rails. I mean, you know, now we got all this room if we need to work under there. No mufflers in the way. The tunnel's not going to get all hot when you're sitting in traffic, you know, here in Texas, or if you're like in Arizona or one of these hot places, sitting there idling at a red light and stop and go traffic for an hour. That whole tunnel, that heat rises up and it just heats up the car really bad. I figure this can't be much worse. So as you can see, it runs all the way down there to the front. It doesn't stick out like the other way was going to be. We got some heat insulator stuff up there. We're going to keep like a 1/4 inch air gap. I'm going to lock all that in. You know, there it goes. As you can see, we got the diff installed. It's all installed. That's the new drive shaft. Now, we ran into lots of problems. They put the wrong yoke on the end of the drive shafts. We needed one of those two-way universal joints. It's bigger, it's wider on two of the caps are spread apart wider, like at, I don't know, 3.625 inches or something. You have to have, let me show you. This whole thing I had to replace. The whole thing was wrong from the drive shaft shop, so we had to put this one on, get a different U-joint, and this U-joint is wider this way than it is this way. It's wider this way. It's a special U-joint. I mean, it's like it combines a 1310 and a 1350, I think it is. Anyway, you can see that's done. No annoying exhaust pipes in the way. No exhaust, no crossover. The crossover is going to go right here. Okay, the crossover is going to go right there underneath the U-joint somewhere. So yeah, we're going to have a crossover. Anyway, yeah, after you're up and down 200 times a day, it starts to get rough. Anyway, my son got all the suspension and everything installed. We had a little problem with that. We didn't know there's a seal back here. When you order the special drive shafts from that Miata place, there's a special seal already pushed on here. Well, if you go ahead and install that factory Miata seal and torque this down, it squishes the hell out of them and it locks everything up. And we just were like, it was too late to mess with it. But this morning, come to find out, you got to leave that seal out that presses into this cast iron thing. That's a stock thing. This one already has it on this hub here. You can see it right there. If you put the two of them, it squishes them together and just everything locks up. And if you ride it like that, it'll destroy it in short order. Back here, all right, as you can see, that's where the exhaust pipe's going to come out. It's going to come right there on each side of the diff. Boom, boom. It's going to exit here. Oh, sorry, with the sun I can't see. We got the one cut out here, fixing to put another one over here. So take a look at it. That's what the exhaust looks like. Pretty badass if you ask me. Never seen anybody do it like that. So between our exhaust setup, we're gonna have it clamped in a couple of places, by the way, so you will be able to take the exhaust apart. It's gonna be in 1, 2, 3, and 4 pieces. The rest of it's gonna be welded. I'd like to weld it all, but it's really a pain when you gotta do something and take the exhaust off. That's when you regret welding everything. Anyway, I gotta get moving, but we're still waiting on the tie rods. These are some old ones we just stuck in there for now. We're waiting for the auto parts store to get us our tie rods. But as you can see, everything's installed. That's the finished product. Plenty of clearance. You know, that's the Frankenstein exhaust. Okay, this was my mod, and then this was my son's idea with the crazy backwards cast iron, you know, facing upside down and backwards. That's why I call it the Donovan mod, because he came up with that crap. I was skeptical, but the only thing is, you got to remember, the bolt holes in these aren't exactly in the center of the port, so when you flip these, I found this out by sticking my camera in there. I have a borescope, and I stuck it up in here, and I went up into this first runner, because once I noticed that these bolt holes weren't in line with the runner, I thought, well, that means if you flip it upside down, obviously they're going to be offset. Sure as shit they were. It's one of these screws in the center is a pilot screw, and what I mean is the hole drilled in the exhaust manifold is exactly the same size as the screw, and it's like that on each exhaust manifold, and that lines this thing up with the ports. What you have to do is, if you flip these cast iron ones over, you have to take that one, take a carbide tip bit and a die grinder. I use an ear one, a Husky. That's just one I bought at, well, I won't say it, but I bought it at the local hardware store, the big orange box store, you know what I mean. I went and got a Husky air grinder. It was like 60 bucks a few years ago. I got it to port some heads. It works really good. But they sell electric ones too. But you have to wallow this one hole out like a slot. You have to make it up and down bigger, so that when you flip this over and it tries to force you to offset the ports, well, all you got to do is wallow that out, and it'll drop right down where you want it. And then you don't have to worry about these ports being misaligned. Anyway, last thing, where's my paper? It's, well, that's the thing we use. You got to buy that. I don't have it. It's sold on one of the sites. I don't know. It's expensive. It's like 80 bucks, but you got to kind of have it. And realistically, are we going to get done? About 2 in the morning last night. I drank too much coffee, so I couldn't sleep. But anyway, I decided right before sleeping to make this list. And here's what the deal is. This is everything that still has to be done. So if you want to pause it, this is all what still has to be done. And the highlighted things, to me, are the most important. So this is a lot of crap we're supposed to do, so we can drive this by tomorrow evening at least. And we might not get there. It's no big deal. So we miss an event, who cares? Fun trying. This is the rest of the list, and I mean, all this crap has to be done. There's almost none of it that I can skip. It's a lot of crap, man. And that was just off the top of my head. I'm sure you can probably add 10 more things to this I didn't think of. And so, you know, geez, that's 42 things. I don't know. I don't care too much. My son doesn't care about it too much, because there's so many parts on here that are brand new and have to be broken in. Well, mainly the differential. It's a limited slip. It's an 8.8 out of a Thunderbird that my son picked up at the junkyard. It's been fully rebuilt with new clutches, new bearings, new seals, but we retained the factory ring and pinion gears. And I'm not going to say what his ratio is because that's his business. I don't know if he wants it on YouTube. I don't want to put all his stuff out there. And by the way, this little 302, it does have an aftermarket. It's got a comp cams, roller cam. It's not real aggressive, but it's a new roller cam. We checked it out. It's in real good shape. The previous owner told us about it, and sure enough, it's in there. And it's not too aggressive. It pulls like 16 inches of vacuum when it's idling, but I can tell you right now, even with the freshly rebuilt carburetor, I rebuilt that carburetor. I know it's done right because I used it on my truck for a few weeks just to test it after I rebuilt it. It works really good. It's the one that came with this motor, and it was in bad shape, but I went over the whole thing and restored it to new. So we thought that would fix the idling problem. No, it's just a lopey cam. It's not really lopey, but you'll hear it when we start it when I get the exhaust done. It pulls 16 inches of vacuum, if that tells you anything, and you cannot get this thing to idle below 1,000 until you run it up to about 160 degrees or so, and then it'll idle. You know, it'll idle all the way down to like 600 or 700. Kind of rough, but kind of lopey, but all good. Anyway, I got to get going. My priority right now is to finish this exhaust. I'm going to put a couple of boreless stainless steel mufflers in there. It's going to sound sweet. And I don't know, I guess see you tomorrow morning.